Ooh, rough.
Double rough. Okay, I think we're gonna restart. We're gonna restart the run. That's complete.
That's totally
That's
fair.
completely okay. We will start over. We'll start from the beginning. But yeah, I think people just sometimes won't let people live their life, you know? Just kind of because you can make all these assumptions. Like you see an old guy working at a like a landscaping company, and you assume that he's hasn't lived his life well, and now he has to work. And the reality is maybe he's really bored, and
Yeah, for sure.
he needs extra money. He would like extra money. I don't know. Until you really get that kind of information, it really is so pointless to judge anybody, and it's really pointless to judge anybody basically anyway, and especially yourself, because your story is still being written. So why would you get really upset about something that is still happening? You know, I mean, there are things obviously that aren't happening anymore. I'm not in college anymore, et cetera, et cetera. But this is life right now. I have immense control over what happens from here. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So what are you doing for work these days then? I'm curious, and how's that going? I know I obviously don't define you by your job, but I am
No, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for
curious.
sure. And I mean, that's just kind of how the conversation's been going. I mean, I just work at a barbecue shop. And
Oh wow.
obviously, like, that's not my calling, but I think one thing that people could use the knowledge on is that your job isn't necessarily your calling, but if it's not your calling, then it at least is feeling your calling.
Yeah, I think that's useful because it's still you, yourself, and I doing the job. So you get to know different parts of yourself. I mean, even though I didn't make hardly any money at Pizza Hut, I learned a lot about, keeping a schedule and making sure you have things prepared. It's not like I could have applied the lessons way better, but I learned tons there about like you have to have things in reserve, you have to have things ready to go at any moment, etc. Because in in the podcasting area and the other areas I want to go into, it's important to always have something in the can, so to speak. You have to always have something ready to go. But yeah, you just never know what you could learn from a job, and I've learned for sure that sometimes like you can learn so much just from like a little job that really doesn't seem that worth it, but you can learn a ton because it's like I said, it's you yourself and I doing it, and it's part of your story. There's a guy I had on my podcast. I'm uploading the interview on Thursday, and he worked as a used car salesman at one point, and people were making fun of him, like not necessarily making fun of him, but like maybe being like, okay, what are you doing? But then he took other opportunities, started a marketing company, and now he's started this company called Stu Kent, which helps marketing professors around the world with teaching students marketing, and there's obviously a need for that. So he's doing really well for himself, but it took time. And if you'd taken out the car dealer experience, maybe he still would have gone to the same place. But you know, all those thoughts and stuff. It's like it's important to remember where he came from. How long have you been at the barbecue place then?
I've been working there for about a year.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't really worked anywhere for longer than a year. Usually it's like 8 or 9 months, and then it's just like, okay. Whether it's like I need to move or, yeah, they're moving on. Like Yeah, it's interesting. But usually it's I need to move on, and then I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. But
Yeah, the way I see it is, I think it's much more important to figure out how to be um, pleased in yourself enough that it doesn't really matter what status of your job is, and also the fact of whether or not you are still able to learn and grow and all of that, that you're not becoming like a complacent kind of person.
yeah, yeah, I agree
And
completely.
I don't think even that necessarily means in regards to work, because I think if you find a rhythm with a job that is able to, like, just make your life happen, then there's no reason why you can't just keep up that rhythm and continue to improve yourself in like the other areas of your life.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, you never know who you can meet, coworkers, etc., etc. So it's true. Yeah, yeah, that's what I've been feeling lately. Is I just need to kind of swallow my pride and be like, even if I don't have money and all this other stuff, I need to get some kind of job. I have to get something just to kind of help with just kind of getting me in the running, so to speak, get some new experiences. Because I have been like, applying for jobs, and I even had like an interview or two, but it's like just hasn't really worked out yet. So
Yeah, getting jobs about having some sort of connection to somebody within the company already is very difficult.
yeah,
But it's kind of crazy the kind of job you can find yourself getting into when you're really not prepared for it, but you just knew somebody that was inside of the company and they were much more willing to give you a chance at that job.
yeah. The lady I was talking with at the restaurant today, she was telling me how like 20 years ago, she had a friend. It's like, hey, yeah, you should work at IBM. It's like, me, IBM, what? And I'm like, yeah. And then it, worked out. And IBM obviously they're not like the biggest company in the world, but they're doing pretty well. And so, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that.
So I've seen it go either way. I've seen people who, based on a connection they have to somebody in the company, got the job, and through it they learned how to do that job, and it helped them to grow and learn exponentially. But I've also seen it where, in the same sense, the people who weren't ready for that job um, didn't exactly step up, and it ended up becoming something that uh, they kind of, uh, how do I say, didn't exactly step up to it, and kind of became a little bit lazy.
They got complacent with it, more or less.
Kind of, in the sense that, like, they just refused to do their job properly
Oh,
because they just weren't ready for it.
and that happens too. Oh my. Oh my. Yeah, I'm kind of at the part in my Celeste speedrunning career where I need to pick up some new tricks so I can get faster. I can do the hyper bounds, I can do ultra bounds, I can do a couple skips, but I'm kind of at that point where I think the best I could possibly do probably would be like 50 or 51 probably would probably be the best I could do right now. I would think.
Right.
But it's fun. It's nice to just kind of chill with the game, hang out. It's fun talking to you too. This is obviously not what I was expecting to do like a month ago, but it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll run with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there has been a lot that has changed in both of our lives since the old days of the Tanuki Toad college streams.
Mm-hmm. There's no
For
doubt.
sure.
Yeah. Still kind of in that phase of life, like single, still figuring out life. Even it's just in a different way and a different level of urgency. It's definitely more important for me to have life kind of figured out now than like my first or second semester of college. Like definitely had a lot more leeway then. But yeah, it's all good though. I think that is what is going to be my saving grace is I was very blessed to make a lot of friendships in college, and not all of them are still intact, but some of them are, and some of those people are at pretty solid companies, or they're willing to chat with me about things, and I never want to take any of that for granted, because it's like these people are probably to a great degree are going to be a big part of my success story because they're already a part of my college success story, or they at least helped out in some way. But
I mean, having connections is a good thing, but as well, you know, humans just have a natural need for, you know, community. You know, to find their tribe is how they were talking about it when I was at a Sunday service this week. And I think for a lot of people that looks different. I think obviously for people who are a little bit less outwardly social, you know, it definitely looks a little bit different for people who are very outwardly social. And to some people that can kind of appear as, oh, this person is lonely or their needs aren't being met. But I think that a lot of the time people don't realize that, you know, we're all made uniquely, and that means that a lot of the time we have unique needs.
yeah, understanding those is pretty important. And also not handing off the keys to somebody else, but here's my life, can you drive it for me, can you help me understand all these things. That you can talk to people about things, but when you're asking somebody to, nobody obviously can live your life for you, but if you're asking somebody to like make all these decisions for you or something, like you might end up not exactly where you'd like to be. You might end up someplace like, you know what, I think maybe I would have done better if I had made this choice instead of somebody else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's interesting how I've learned that to a certain degree of some things.
At a certain point, making other people do the decisions for you is living somebody else's life.
Yeah.
It is kind of a difficult balance of, you know, finding out how to live true to yourself without living based on your truth, because there's an important sort of discernment between what is truth and what is your own perception of truth. Because sometimes, you know, humans are pretty easily fooled, and we believe things that aren't true. And sometimes those things that we believe are true can be pretty harmful to ourselves. So it is important to figure out that balance of living true to yourself without getting sucked into yourself truth.
Yeah, I think that's pretty on point. You can get really high on your own Gatorade or whatever you want to say. Or you can get really, yeah, jazzed up about it, and yeah, yeah, it's important to have those like values or have those things in mind that are going to help you to stay on the path they'd like to be on. And that's something that I believe God's been teaching me a lot recently. It's just like, hey, you know what, I can direct you in all these different things, but really this is up to you. Like, I can put all these potential things in your path and all this, but obviously this is all potentially up to you, like really up to you. And if something is not something I want for you, like it really is obviously from me, my perspective, not going to be good for you, then I will tell you. But other than that, it's like, it really is kind of like a lot of like different video games. It's like, okay, you can choose to go with, you know, if we're thinking of Pokemon, like this fossil or this fossil, or this starter Pokemon or that one. And it's like, they all have different benefits, they all have drawbacks. But if you don't choose any of them, you're not going to be a trainer at all. You're not going to have any Pokemon at all. You have to get the Rattata. You're going to have to get the. You're already starting on, like, not with nothing, you know, basically. And I think you can still do pretty well. But I mean, it helps to have a plan. Helps to make early choices, and not try to put the pressure on God or anything like that. Just have God as a source of help and guidance and strength, but is definitely not going to live your life for you. So
Right. And I definitely see your points there. And I guess the way that I would word the same idea is that you know, God is not in the business of overriding our souls, of like changing who we are, but He is in the business of changing our hearts and helping us to grow into the person that we are.
yeah, that's deep. Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. I think it's C.S. Lewis that said that, you know, choosing to trust God definitely does not erase any of the beautiful parts of yourself. On the contrary, it actually helps all those things to be so much more clearly seen. So
Absolutely.
puts them on display. You know, you're able to really share those things with other people. And I really am surprised there's literally nobody in the chat. Literally nobody. But I guess, you know what? That's okay.
That's how it is
It
sometimes.
just is kind of how it is sometimes. The biggest number of people I've had in the chat since getting back into streaming a month ago was 11. And that was from a raid. So, or I think it was 11. It was from a raid, but
Destiny, or oh no, not a Destiny raid, but like from a raid from like another
yeah,
streamer.
Twitch, yeah, some guy, some really nice, merciful dude saw me with my one viewer and is like, I'm gonna give him a hand. But
That's always nice.
it's nice.
Yeah, I hear raid and I think Destiny because all three of my roommates are Destiny junkies by this point. And it's crazy to me to think like I don't mean to like shame them or anything, but man, I cannot imagine uh, going deep with that game. Because do you know much about that game?
Not a ton, but I did have one roommate who's super, super, super into it, and it basically became his life, bro.
Exactly, and that was kind of what I wanted to talk about. Was I can't really see myself getting into a game like that because what happens with Destiny raids is, especially for like day one raids, which is like this whole like deal. It's like a whole status thing of everybody figuring out like the day one raid and everything, and having no guide or anything,
Hmm.
and basically every single time it takes up like the entire day. And I don't just mean like, oh, they'll do like a couple hours here, a couple hours there. No, they'll sit down at their computer, open up Destiny, and they will play that raid for 8 hours. And then they'll finish, and then they'll be like, "Oh, what a raid!" And I'm like, "How? How do you even have the stamina to play for 8 hours? Like, 2 hours is enough to drain me.
True.
It's just insane." And like, again, not to like shame them for that,
No.
because I mean, everybody has the thing that they, dump so much time of their life into, and really, at the end of the day, like, all towers get swallowed in the sea eventually, and it just
Hmm.
depends on whether or not, you use those experiences to build yourself as a person or build up other people and building those connections and everything. And that can happen in Destiny, that can happen at your job, that can happen in whatever hobby that you have. It's just, the difference is whether or not you share it, whether or not you find out how to make your light shine through that thing in particular.
All towers swallow up in the sea eventually, man. That's it's deep stuff. It's true. I mean, the well of opportunity for a particular thing is going to eventually dry up, like one day at a time, one drop at a time. Because even me getting back into streaming, it's a completely different ballgame. It's a completely different landscape, even if it feels somewhat similar. It feels wildly different, to be honest with you. Doing a stream and starting with the scripture was unheard of for me, but now it just, I'm doing it as a way to extend the best parts of myself that I want to show out in the world instead of trying to fit like some mold. So
Yeah,
that might
for
ruffle
sure.
some feathers, that might not, but it's just, yeah, dude, I literally had a roommate, and this is just one of those funny jokes. I'll just keep telling people, but like, we had this roommate that we literally didn't use the TV like the whole semester because he literally like play different people's Destiny accounts and then he just reset them. And dude, he was making like $50 an hour at some points. Usually not. Usually like 20. But he wasn't doing any other job. He was just playing Destiny and making pretty decent money. And it was really funny though because we literally didn't use that TV literally the entire semester. Like we would sometimes use other TVs, but he's always on that TV. And he's a really good guy though. Don't get me wrong. There's just yeah, it's what you said. You don't have to spend that much time in a tower, and because eventually the tower will go down. It's just
Mhm.
it's just it's just life. It's temporary. It's fleeting. But what we learn from it, that is not fleeting. That will stay with us. So that is ultimately a big reason why we're here on this earth is to learn from experience and such. So yeah, that's good. There's been a lot of little crystals, if we want to call it that. I was
You
waiting.
missed the left button.
I missed the left button. I got too. I got impatient. I thought I hit the left button. See, that's what I wanted. I was waiting for that and just a little impatient. Just a
There
little
you go.
impatient. So far, this run it's going pretty good. So it's curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the rest of this chapter goes. Because it'll be very clear once I beat Mirror Temple. Like, okay, this is going to happen, or this is probably not going to happen. So There's a lot of skipped cutscenes at this part.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much um, patience God has in waiting for the right time of your life to teach you something. Because I spent like a lot of my time like as like an adolescent kind of confused about uh, God and what he was trying to teach me and everything and who he wanted me to be. And it almost felt like, he wasn't present a lot of the time because, he wasn't making himself known to me. But then when I became an adult, it just exploded. And I was like, what the heck? Why did this all happen now?
Hmm.
And, it's one of those things that you realize, I wasn't ready for all these truths at the time. I wasn't ready to, step into these things yet because I was just a kid. Like the most important thing for me in that time of my life was just to be obedient to my parents.
Yeah. Kind of take what they were doing at face value. You didn't really have to have a stronger relationship, I guess, with God at that point. And then I guess in a way maybe you felt him reaching out to you and you're like, whoa. Yeah, that's cool. I agree. It's really neat how he does that on an individual level. What were some ways you think that you could tell he's like, okay, he's definitely trying to talk to me right now when you're in your early adulthood?
Well, I think like the main thing was that for a long time, within like the LDS church and everything, a lot of people would say, oh, there's the Holy Spirit was really strong in this message or during this time and all that. And a lot of the time, it almost felt like all the times that I was convinced that I felt the presence of the Holy Spirit was because everybody else was saying it, and I was kind of gaslighting myself into saying, oh yeah, I totally understand what you guys are saying. I experienced the exact same thing at the exact same time, out of sort of a fear of kind of not fitting into that situation of being like, oh, if I didn't feel it, then why? Is something wrong? And then there was a certain point in like my young adulthood where he showed up in a way that was way more moving, and I was convinced for like the first time that I could feel the presence of God with me in a way that was very deeply personal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I will just say, I mean, from the time I met you, definitely could sense just a depth of thinking, depth of soul, depth of kindness, and I think a lot of that lends itself well to we have those kind of experiences with God. It helps a lot. No. That's cool. Yeah, I think for me there's just a lot of different experiences that I knew he wanted me to remember. Like, he definitely had reached out to me in that moment, and it was kind of like, that it's kind of one of those, sort of what he said to his disciples, like, this isn't even, this is just the beginning of what I'm able to do. There's more I'm able to do. You know, I saw that with the gaming YouTube channel when I felt like it really was like reaching people and stuff. So
Yeah.
it really was humbling to see that and feel that and experience that. You know, first time I got to bear my testimony to a subscriber was before my mission, and you know, they asked like, why are you like the way you are? Why are you not cursing and such? And I said that everything I am and everything I hope to be is because I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He's like, huh. And then, you know, I just kind of went on and shared some stories and perspectives. Like, dang, like this really all resonates with people, and this all really is so powerful to share, and people need to hear my perspective or my like experience just to kind of help inspire people with their experience. And it's cool because it was literally video games that opened the door. But I look at college and the exact same thing happened, where I met some really cool people, and the door that we all walked through was video games. But then we're all able to get to know each other better, and led to some deeper connections and stuff. So yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I definitely kind of notice as one of like the weaknesses in a lot of, you know, that church is a lot of the time people look at hobbies that they don't understand, you know, things like gaming, and they say that those things are ungodly, or that they are a waste of like their time or talents. And you know, I remember specifically at one point they were having like a face-to-face with some of the higher ups in the church, and one of them had said, what was it? He said specifically, like, you know, we need people who are, you know, after Jesus. We don't need people who are gamers. We don't need gamers. And that was one thing that kind of hit me. That was like, man, even in like some of these areas, people can be, you know, so confused, right? Because, I mean, when you really look at it, like, do they need gamers? Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, you know, God's commandment is to make disciples of all nations. And in the modern sense, we have communities surrounding all these subjects, such as gaming, and those are a kingdom. And who better to reach out to people who are gamers than people who are gamers?
Yeah, it's well said. I mean, you're already going to get coverage of some kind somewhere. You might as well have some of the faithful, good stuff in that arena too. And it's cool because this game, for example, teaches a lot about life, and you could relate it to teachings of Christ really, really, really easily.
Oh yeah,
letting go of
speedrunning.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, again, with like, you know, lessons in the game, those are good. And also with the lessons that you learn about yourself through speedrunning, those are also good. Because one thing I've noticed about speedrunning is it's one of those things that pushes you to the limit. And when you get pushed to the limit in one way or another, there is a lot of learning that can be had, because in one way, if you start making a lot of mistakes, you might start to get really angry with yourself. And the lesson that you learn from that is, oh, I really need to grow in compassion for myself. Or if you get really angry at the game, you might realize, oh, you know, I need to grow in patience. Or, learn how to better manage my anger. And I think a lot of people don't realize that in God, it really doesn't matter what you do with your life, but more so how you use that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard it said it's not about what you're doing per se, it's about what you're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it kind of goes back to the job thing. Like, if you're using an outlet to help you with getting to know yourself better, well, that's great. I mean, that's kind of why we're here, right? Is there's things that we can learn here on this earth that, yeah, valuable to learn.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, I found that in a lot of situations, I mean, we've all had, I imagine, as Christians, those moments in time, you know, where we're struggling with sin, and then we pray to God and ask, God, can this just be removed from me? You know, can this battle just be over? Like, I don't want this to be a part of me anymore. And a lot of the time, God will say no. And this is something that kind of happens in Romans, where he says, I forget who it was that wrote it. Was it Paul, I think? I think so. But he writes that, you know, it is not the things that I want to do that I do, but it is the things that I don't want to do that I keep doing. And, you know, he also wrote that in this sense, these things are not the things of my heart, but of the sin that lives inside of me. And I think a lot of the time God actually likes us to have a struggle like that for a few reasons. One, I think that it helps to teach humility, because in one sense, how are you going to be able to justify looking down on another person for their sin when it lives inside of you as well? And also, God loves to use things like that as an opportunity to be able to display his strength and his strength of character and his grace. Because as many times as we make those mistakes, God still loves us and he still forgives us, and we are still healed by, you know, the power of the atonement.
Yeah,
so that way, you know, through our sin, we're reminded, wow, God, you're pretty amazing.
Yeah, Jesus came to take the stain away, so we can have the pain. We don't have to have as much pain as he did, you know? And it's humbling too when we've let something go and we still have memories of it, and it's like, wow, was I even forgiven of that? And the answer, yeah, is I'm not going to speak for everybody in the world, but the answer is, you know, probably, like, yes. And if you're trying, you've let go, you're doing what you can. I mean, we're all going to be tempted. Jesus was tempted. You know, it's all about what we do once we're tempted. So I think a lot of it too is about believing that you are worth it right now, which goes along to the title for this stream, is that you're enough. And it's definitely a message that gets said all the time, but it is a very powerful one when you kind of accept that, you know, there's no It's like you find the job, perfect job or whatever. It's not going to magically fix all your problems. Or if you meet this super amazing significant other person, you know, it's all going to still take work because all valuable things take work to maintain and everything like that. Wow, we're doing pretty good right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go use the restroom real fast, but I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're just about to do Summit, so. $37.32. Wow. Dude, we're about to get that PB, dude. 37.37? Holy flip, dude. Oh, man. Oh, shoot. Definitely gonna need those good vibes in the chat. That is what we're gonna need for sure. Do some breathing exercises too. That's exactly what we need right now. Those breathing exercises. Yeah, 37. Man. So if we got like 16 flat, that would be 16 flat would be 53.37, which would be 9 seconds slow. So it's possible, very possible to get a PB, but it's going to have to be a really clean run. So if it was like 15 minutes flat, then it'd be almost a 1 minute PB. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, these are back-to-back runs. Reflection was pretty good. Mirror Temple was pretty good. Golden Ridge was also good. Yeah, I mean, this is it's a pretty clean run, you know. I think definitely the one that was what were held back the farthest would probably be probably Celestial Resort. And Reflection. Reflection could have definitely been faster. But yeah. Cool. Man.
I've returned.
Cool.
On to Summit.
Yeah, look at this, man. Like we're it's looking pretty good right now. It's just if I get
looking good.
If I get 16 minutes, then we will be 9 seconds behind the PB because my PB was 53.28. So I'm hoping to get 15 or like 6. Like I think the time I need to get is so 9 seconds over. Yeah, so like if I got, I think the slowest I could do would be like 50 or like 15:51. I think that's, yeah, 15:51 is the slowest I can do. 15:51 is like, I'd be at PB. So gonna have to really have a strong summit because like this needs to be like my fastest summit ever basically, because if we look at this one, yeah, 1829. This is an older file, but then with the PB, if we look at the PB run, Reflection was slower, I think, than the other one. Mirror Temple was faster on this one. Golden Ridge was faster. Celestial was faster on the other one. Old Site was faster on the other one. So they're pretty on point with each other. But on this summit, I got 15:23. So if I got 15:23 this time, then we would have a PB. So overall, it is a better setup, because I remember before Summit last time it was literally like 3808 or something. So chances are it's very likely we will PB, because I'm going off of momentum from the last run, et cetera, et cetera. I get to talk with you. That obviously helps. So, okay, well, we'll just jump into it. And if we don't get the PB, then that's okay. But it's pretty likely, because I don't know, muscle memory is such a fascinating thing to me. It's like your brain, your body, your hand-eye coordination, it just adds up. I've always had really good hand-eye coordination. So but yeah, God's got a plan, man. That's for sure. You just gotta trust the plan. I'm probably gonna need to test some stuff here at some point so I can improve on this run, because even that right there, like, that was a minute. It's a little sloppy, but that's okay. Yeah. Ooh, clean. Oh no. It's interesting because there was one video of the stream where I was talking a lot about, like God and how he's helped me out on my journey, and this lady on YouTube found it and was like, I watched this sermon and I heard your sermon while playing Celeste after, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I might share this one on Twitch too, or on YouTube too, if that's cool with you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Might be somebody that can really help, and I would like to re-listen to it again, especially if we get the PB, which I'm pretty sure is gonna happen. It's just not getting too caught up in anything. From stillness of the key is the key. It was talking a little bit about just not getting too caught up in any one outcome, just being thankful for whatever it is and just kind of accepting and letting your brain go to the void of emptiness, because that's where a lot of times getting really good stuff done happens, is when you're not thinking about it. You're just kind of rolling with it. Because once you're thinking about it, that's usually when you make mistakes. That's usually when you get a little upset about things outside of your control happen, But.
Yeah, I would definitely say that is another thing where there's like a delicate balance, because of course there is a level of importance to intentionality and making the correct decisions in regards to what it is that you're doing. Like if I were to compare this to art, it's important that you decide the right place or the right color for like your lighting or other things in order to set the mood of your piece correctly. But at the same time, there is also a level of freedom that comes from not overthinking about things, because at a certain point it's more important that you make a decision at all.
Yeah, well said, man. because you don't know how long that window is going to be open. I mean, the window might look like it's going to stick around, but windows can vanish, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Just enjoy it while it lasts. Learn as much as you can from the experience, and I think a lot of it, so much of it, is just choosing gratitude. You know, it's like
absolutely.
Just with all the things, like it's like we met in college. We didn't have to meet in college. That didn't have to happen. I'm glad it happened. There was some interesting things that happened from that. I met one of your friends at a Smash tournament, and then that kind of led to more interactions happening, and then slowly things just kind of came into the picture, and now like a year or a couple years later, here we are talking about God and how He's been helping us out on a live stream to our one viewer. but who knows what happens with the YouTube video? I don't know. But it's neat. You just have no idea what's up God's sleeve. You have no idea what cards he can put there for you. But do need to keep working on it, doing our part. He can't steer a parked vehicle. And I realized that I definitely need to pick up the pace, because I remember where I was at when I got to the last part. So the last part of this is the part with all the flags and stuff. That usually takes me 5 minutes. So to do that in this run, I would probably need to get be at 47 by the time I got to that part. So getting these snowballs is pretty useful, because it basically gives you a second jump or a third jump. But yeah, just a one day at a time thing. But I do think that is so much of it is just gratitude. I mean, for me, I'm really thankful I was born in this. Whoo! No, there's no way. There's no way we would do that twice. I was like, shoot, dude, what in the world? It's there's no way. I was like, but maybe there's a way. But yeah, there's a lot of there's multiple ways to do the right thing. I think sometimes people forget that.
No, absolutely. And this is the number one thing I would tell anybody who is a Christian, because people get so caught up in this church, that church, or there's things wrong with this church, so you can't trust it, or this church or that church. But the truth is, there's things wrong with every single church. And that's because it's run by humans. And humans are, inherently flawed. And so, whatever system we make is going to be wrong. And that's okay. Because, life isn't about not making mistakes. And that's, what God has, been showing me a lot in life, is that it's not about not making the mistakes, but it's about how you react to the mistakes. Whether or not you become an angry or bitter person, or whether or not, you're learning from these things, or it's a lot less about, I guess this is how I would put it. It's a lot less about the subject and a lot more about the verb. It's a lot less about what is happening and a lot more about what you are doing. Yeah, so I would say number one thing that's I think that a lot of Christians need to learn is that the importance of and the wideness of the body of Christ. Because I think what a lot of people don't realize is when Jesus came to earth, he didn't start a religion, but he started a discipleship. And the reason why is because, he is the truth. And the important thing is that you are living like him. And so really, at the end of the day, like whatever church you belong to, you are, if you're living the life of like a Christian, the way that, Jesus wants you to, then you're all doing the same thing and trying to live more like Jesus.
Yeah, and there's a lot of power in just just kind of trusting that you don't know everything, but God does, and that he will take care of things that we do not know how to take care of. We don't understand. We want to understand all these things logically. There's a lot of things we just don't understand right now. If God has done something in your life, there's probably not going to be any flaw in that, even if the person he's put in your life obviously is flawed, but his plan will continue to go forward, whether you could be like, oh yeah, I messed up or something. His plan will continue to happen. He'll find a way to make those blessings come. But yeah, here we are. We are at this is the last part. It's kind of crazy. It really is telling too, because like in one of the runs, I was vibing more or less. I guess depending how we talk about vibing with the music. And this one maybe vibing a little bit more of like the overall conversation and where I feel like the run has gone and where it's going. But the one that I'm doing way better at is the one where I have somebody to talk to the entire way through. So I think there's something telling about that. There's like that quote, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. Want to go far, go together. But
yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, it kind of also ties back in with what you were saying earlier of like, when you think too much, it gets in the way of doing. And I guess another way to say this is, as like an artist, a lot of people go through something called art block, or like they say this about writing too. You go through like writing block of like, oh, I can't figure out what to write. And a lot of the time, I don't go through art block. I just don't. I just drop. And I think the reason for that is people get caught up in thinking over things too much. And I think that's because a lot of time people want to make something that's perfect. And what happens is people aren't capable of perfect, at least not yet. And so when you're trying to accomplish perfect, then you're just going to be running in circles until you find it, which is going to probably be way too long. And you're not going to end up doing anything. And I think, in a certain sense, as well in like speedrunning of Celeste, when you are thinking too much about what's happening on the screen, then more of your focus is being put towards that than what you're actually doing.
Yeah, really all I'm doing is twiddling my thumbs. But yeah, it's true. When you think too much or you look at the timer, I think is one of the big ones for me. When I look at the clock, it's easy to get caught up in it, and my brain starts to go all these different places, and I'm like, oh no. But I think the thing I've really come to just accept for myself, it's like my love for myself is never like on the line. It's like I make mistakes, I do a lot of things, I dare greatly, and so if I fail greatly, well, that will happen when you dare greatly. That's just kind of a part of the whole dare greatly thing. Is there will be times when you will fail greatly, and I have 100% done that. But it's like I'm not going to let that get in the way of how I feel about myself, because I've let that happen before and let my happiness generally be decided from something outside of my control, and that was a sad way to live, man. Sad way to live. So yeah, I'm with you though. Right? Lately, I'm just like, okay, we're just gonna take action on this and trust the path will be provided. Trust I don't have to like think all this through. Trust that God already has this figured out, and I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to give it any of my energy whatsoever. So there's
darn diagonals.
Yeah, that happened twice. So
that's like the main weakness of old D-pads. It's very easy to get accidental diagonal inputs.
But yeah, the love is real for myself in sunshine or in shadow, and that is what I have decided for myself. Is that it will be there for myself. I think we PB'd. Dude, we PB'd by like literally a second. Let's go!
That's pretty great.
I'll take it. We'll take it. 1548. It's a little crazy at the end, especially with the two diagonals, man. Oh, gosh. But I was like, I'm not going to look at the timer. Because I think if I looked at the timer, like I didn't look at the timer after we got on summit. Or like after I'd gotten at the summit of the summit, 3,000 meters. I think if I'd looked at it, then I probably would have missed it. But like we'll take a 1 second PB all day long. I will take that all day long.
Even tying PB is like insane, honestly.
Yeah, so it was a really good run up to summit, and then I just have to get my summit faster. But yeah, it was we were cutting it close. I was like, yeah, we got to hit like 15, like whatever to tie PB or whatever. And it's like, oh boy, yeah, here we are. Now that was really close too, especially at the end, man. That was it's crazy. Just like one of the craziest experiences of my life. I'll just share this really quick because I feel like this is a good moment to do this because you're just looking at the mountains, looking out in the game. But I had on my cross country team, my coach was like, hey, I really want you to break like 23 minutes on your 5K. And at the time, my best 5K was probably like 23, 24. And the tough thing with running a 5K, at least in high school, was, at least for me, I usually wasn't wearing a watch. So I didn't really know what the time was. But I remember going to our last meet and running with this guy that I've ran with before, and we're just running together. And I had this clear thought, Dallin, if you stay with this person, there's no chance that you will get below 23 minutes. And so I zoomed away from him, not really, just barely like inked by him. And then I realized that we were running in this race of all these people. So there was like at least a couple hundred racers in front of me, So it's like easy to be like, oh yeah, we're doing good. Me and this guy are running. Yeah. It's like, there's all these people in front of me. And so I'm finding this new ocean of people and running with them. And yeah, then when it came down to it, it was very similar to this, where it came down to it, you do these different laps and stuff. And I got toward the end, and there's a part where you go up this hill, but then at the very end, you go up the same hill, but you go straight and you just sprint straight through the finish. and I could see the clock at the top, and it said 22:51. I could see it, and I was like, holy crap. So I literally just like booked it, man, and I got 22:59. So that was like one of the most crazy moments, at least for me, of my life. I was like, dude, if I hadn't left when I did, if I hadn't left that other person, then there's no way, because they finished like a minute or so after me. So it's like important to know your goals, what you're going after. And I mean, at least with this is obviously just it's interesting because you pushed me to get this goal. And yeah, I definitely need to improve my summit to get it lower. But yeah, it was kind of mind-blowing to me because my coach was like, yeah, good job, man. It's like, hey, 22:59, that's faster than 23 minutes. It's not much faster, but hey, it's faster. So yeah, like I'll take a 1 second PB all day long. So yeah, be interesting to upload this to YouTube and see if it gets any reactions and such. I think we talked about a lot of really good things, and yeah, it was fun. I liked doing it. It was just fun just chatting it up and seeing where it went. But yeah. Yeah, it was just crazy there at the end. I was like, oh man, this really is like down to the last couple seconds. But yeah, I'm trying to PB every. I'm just trying to get my time down and see how well I can get it. But yeah, I think I'm kind of at that point where I need to learn some more advanced tech if I want to get much faster. But
yeah, and I mean, you're not working on anybody's schedule but your own, so.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, if I wanted to be a crazy person, I could stream Celeste every day, and I know I would burn out, and I know I wouldn't like it as much, and so
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just not. Maybe back in the day at some point, but for me right now, it's just we're just gonna just kind of vibe, do my thing, and have my time where I go for it, and then just kind of keep it in its place more or less, because to get to affiliate on Twitch, you need to have 3 viewers and concurrent for like a month, and I definitely have not had that. I definitely have the followers, and I definitely have the streaming time, but I do not have the consistent people. But it's interesting though, because I think last time I was into streaming, at least on this account, on my solo account, I was pretty focused on reaching those numbers, and realized how much it was helpful for me, like streaming and talking and such. But now I'm just kind of like, I'm just in it, and we'll see what happens. But it's fun. I mean, it's fun. Video games can elicit an emotional reaction from me that is tough to get from other mediums. So
Yeah,
for me,
for sure.
that's useful. I mean, obviously there's things way more important, like work and other things, but video games will always have a place for me. There's been times where I've sort of tried taking them out, being like, oh, this is not useful, and it's a big part of me, It definitely has helped me with my overall perspectives of life, and I think anything can be overdone. I mean, there's times when Smash 3DS came out where I'd play online for like 4 or 5 hours at a time, kind of thing, and it was really not great. And I wasn't streaming it, I wasn't recording it or anything, I was just playing it and taking all the vibes and getting excited. But anyway, yeah, so that was that. And it's really funny that literally nobody was here, but you know what? That's completely fine. Yeah, so if we look at it's like literally like 1 second faster. But it's interesting, this one is 7 deaths less than this one. So Toad Silver came in clutch. Toad Silver figured it out.
Let's go.
Let's go.